I thought I was whispering a cruel joke about my husband's size to my best friend during our dinner party, but our Alexa had been recording everything, and I mean everything. Not just that one joke, but months of me tearing Julian apart behind his back, mocking his insecurities, his bedroom fears, every vulnerable moment he'd ever shared with me. By Monday morning, he'd heard it all, packed his bags, and left. I got fired from work because the information leaked, and now I'm standing in our house that I can't afford alone. Realizing my need to be funny just cost me my marriage, career, friends, and the respect of a man who loved me unconditionally while I destroyed his soul one joke at a time. I learned early that silence is louder than any argument. When Dad's boots stomped down the hallway and the front door banged shut, the house trembled for hours after even though he was gone. That sound never fully cleared out of the walls, it settled in. The corners like dust. No matter how often Mum scrubbed, and in that hush I discovered the power of doing everything right. Neat handwriting, perfect attendance. Star charts stuck to the refrigerator, my armor against abandonment. Mum pulled doubles at the county hospital. Her scrub smelled of bleach and cafeteria coffee she loved in exhausted sighs and microwave noodles. She loved by saving every grocery receipt in a jar labeled budget check. I answered that devotion by collecting grades like merit. Badges a straight line of A's that led me out of Kansas and into Houston, a city where humidity pressed itself against your lungs, but possibilities felt endless. I promised myself I would never be so tired that I stopped dreaming. College turned out to be half concrete libraries, half fluorescent sorority parties, and 100% reinvention. I swapped prairie plainness for winged eyeliner and an elevator pitch of my future brand marketing executive, homeowner before 30, world traveler before 32. I met Julian in freshman econ when the PowerPoint crashed, and he fixed it with 2 lines of code. While the rest of us stared at the blue screen, he laughed self-conscious when the class applauded, said technology was just Legos for adults. That blend of competence and humility fit me like the click of a seatbelt. We dated through study marathons and cheap pro dinners. He smelled of cedar shampoo and highlighters. He collected microbrew bottle caps, the way I collected planners, he proposed, under a planetarium dome, because he knew constellations made me feel tiny in the good way, like part of something mapped long before I arrived. Our wedding vows promised partnership, but I vowed in secret to outrun the fear that one day a door might slam behind me again. Fast forward a decade, and we owned a 2-story on Sycamore Ridge Drive, a neighborhood where every lawn looked clipped by a ruler. HOA newsletters praised holiday wreath. Symmetry, the kitchen renovation, was my victory lap subway. Tile sunlight ricocheting off chrome fixtures, I watched tutorials at 2 a.m., learning words like beveled edge and shiplap, and persuaded Julian the ROI justified the splurge he handled. Long division of the budget I handled. The Instagram progress stories, each of us believing this balance meant unshakable. Our friend circle was a living museum of shared history. 6 couples, same alma mater, same inside jokes. We rotated dinner parties with the punctuality of lunar phases. Last month, Krista flaunted her new pool at a Tuscan-themed soiree. Tonight was my turn, and I planned a spectacle of eucalyptus garlands and playlist arcs, rising from jazz to indie pop at exactly the coffee service mark. Julian woke early, marinating duck legs in citrus and clove, humming off key to oldies while I lined open shelving with copper ramekins, purely decorative but photogenic. Julian's promotion dropped 2 weeks earlier. Regional Director of Logistics, more money, more prestige, and a travel schedule brutal enough to slice months into lonely segments. His excitement tasted of ambition, mine of apprehension and designer boots I browsed on lunch breaks, Italian leather burgundy shade that whispered, "You've made it." An hour before guests arrived, Julian hovered beside me, steam fogging his glasses. He cupped my elbows, told me he'd booked a table. For two tomorrow night, a celebration before his first trip. I smiled wide enough to ache, told him I was proud, then nudged him back to the stove because the glaze still needed reducing. I didn't mention that I'd already scheduled tomorrow for a pedicure, fitting the boots that weren't yet purchased but felt inevitable. Doorbell chimes scattered waffles across hardwood. Dave and Krista strolled in, bearing aged tequila and poolside confidence. Cassidy hugged me tight. Breathing "You smell like victory," she was my vault for every confession, the one person who knew Julian's insecurities about height, about bedroom fumbling about the night he cried after failing to fix a leaking pipe. I had filed those moments under harmless girl talk, never considering the possibility of cross-contamination, real life leaking into performance. The evening unfolded in golden light, tinkling glassware laughter ricochets. Julian plated his duck masterpiece. Guests moaned appreciatively. I posed wedge-heeled at the island, pivoting for compliments like sunflowers track light. Heidi teased about travel marriages, Dave toasted crypto spikes, Pamela clucked about property values, and I rode the buoyant wave, thinking this is the part where the camera flash freezes us in glossy perfection. Dessert plates, clinked forks, scraped ceramic, and talk turned to the promotion. Julian, modest but glowing, outlined the travel schedule. Uncertainty pooled in his eyes, yet pride kept his shoulders tight. Sympathetic murmurs followed, and there, between sips of overpriced Bordeaux, Heidi tossed a grenade disguised as humor. Maybe you should grab toys that match his size, keep company while he's gone. Laughter rustled along the table like wind through dry grass. I felt the familiar impulse, the itch behind my teeth to turn a giggle into a roar, a flick of mean that sounded like charm, so I widened my eyes, rolled them skyward, let silence stretch, then said, "They don't make them that tiny, darling." Truly, I've searched. The laugh never landed it, plummeted like a stone. Dave coughed, Mark's phone screen glowed brighter. Cassidy's smile collapsed into a grimace. The light seemed harsher, my pulse echoed in my ears. Then I noticed Julian in the doorway bottle, dangling fingers white, he placed it on. The mantle as though handling fragile evidence, his face emptied of colour, of recognition. He turned, walked, stepped out front door latch, clicking softer than my breath yet final as a gavel. A vacuum swallowed the room. Guests traded glances, Krista's wine. Sloshed, Pamela gathered her wrap chairs. Scraped, Dave offered a brittle joke. Nobody answered within minutes, engine roars receded, and taillights vanished down Sycamore Ridge, leaving only the scent of duck fat cooling and the exquisite fracture of my certainty. I smoothed hair, arched a brow, attempted a light-hearted, "Men are dramatic," but the quiver in my voice exposed me. Cassidy murmured, "Lex, maybe give him space." I waved her off, but her eyes wouldn't meet mine. My jaw tightened like the lock on Dad's. Old toolbox, I needed the night salvaged, not pitied. Guests trickled toward Uber apps. I handed Dave foil packets of leftovers. Heidi squeezed my shoulder as if pressing bruise test tenderness. Cassidy stayed, last helped stack plates. Her silence screamed. Finally, she whispered, "You went too far." I barked laughter. "You've said worse." She shook her head. "That's private. He's your husband." When she left, the house felt cavernous. I loaded dishes, palms trembling, texted Julian witty, then pleading, then furious. No. Response, I poured Merlot into the silence, wandered room to room, touching surfaces. For proof of solidity, stumbled upon the smart speaker LED, still glowing, somehow accusatory. Curiosity and dread braided. I opened the companion app. Cloud storage revealed 127 fresh audio files, time-stamped dinner party, through my meltdown, including pre-dinner gossip with Cassidy. Casual cruelty immortalized. Sweat beaded, I tapped play, my own voice. Dripped sarcasm describing Julian's height, his anxious tells, the way he whispered apologies after intimacy, and the giddy chorus of Cassidy's agreement. My cheeks burned, shame bloomed acidic. I tried deletion, but the files were already shared. Sync log showed Julian accessed at 10:38 p.m. Minutes after leaving the house, meaning he'd heard, or would hear every word I'd ever hoped stayed confined to unsearchable memory. That night, sleep fractured into fevered dreams of endless hallways, doors slamming, echoing into eternity. I woke to sunlight stabbing ceiling fan blades turning slow, nauseating phone blank. Still no word 3 days past each hour, a pendulum swing between rage and terror. I imagined him smug in some hotel suite or shattered in a bar, but always the echo of my voice. Playing on loop HR email, subject conduct review, internal policy violation, dread coiled around spine. I pictured audio leaks forwarded by Julian under corporate header, my professional diligence tarnished by personal malice. I drafted explanations, never. Sent them instead. I scrolled boot sites, the leather seemed to mock me. On the fourth morning, phone buzzed. I'm coming for suitcases at 9, please be gone. Pragmatic, devoid of punctuation. The finality chilled coffee in my gut. I called in sick planted. Myself on the sofa waiting, rehearsing apologies, hyperventilating at every car passing window at 9:07 key turned lock. Julian entered shoulders squared, determination radiating like static. He passed me wordless into bedroom duffel, unzip closet hangers. Clacked. I followed speech, tumbling. I was joking. You know, I adore you. He paused, lifted eyes, the look, not anger but vacancy. The place where trust once lived, burned hollow. He said, jokes don't carve scars. Then hoisted suitcase brushed past, I blocked. Hallway hands trembling. He stepped around me like furniture. A roar built inside, I followed into driveway, Houston heat shimmering. He loaded trunk, I shouted, you're ruining us over one line. He closed trunk gently, leaned against car door, said, Lex. This isn't one line, it's a pattern, it's a character I ignored. The sting hurled, you manipulated. The speaker broke privacy, he countered. You handed me the knife, I just turned on the light. He opened phone, tapped screen. Sudden chorus erupted, my voice spilling. From car speakers, graphic private commentary, blasting into open morning air. Neighbours mowing lawns turned. Julian let the audio play 30 seconds 60. My stomach heaved, hearing myself dissect him like lab specimen. He clicked. Stop the silence, thundered. He said, hear it, that's what you sound like every time you need to feel taller. He got in car window down, final words, barely above engine. We both know who slammed the door first. Then he drove. Heat rippled after taillights disappeared. I stood, barefoot on driveway asphalt, searing soles, tears evaporating before they fell. Cloud notification pinged, access revoked. I walked inside numb. The house still reeked of citrus glaze and shame. Waffles whined, pouring at pantry door looking for breakfast. And in that tiny sound, I felt the weight of everything break open like Dad's door slam, echoing decades later. But this time, no report card, no marble countertop, no Italian boots could stitch the soundproofing back over the hole I'd carved with a single, cheap laugh that cost more than love itself. I spent the afternoon after Julian left, counting the house sounds, fridge motor sigh, ceiling fan rattle, waffles claws, skitter over laminate, a loose gutter drip, a distant lawnmower. Each noise-proof the building kept breathing even while the marriage lay on the floor like a toppled picture frame, that moment when glass stays whole. But you know, one wrong move will shatter everything. I tried to outrun the hush by scouring grout lines until fingertips, burned by sorting spice jars into chromatic order, by scrolling message threads that showed delivered. Not read my applause machine had shut down, HR summoned me Monday 8:30 sharp. I ironed my navy sheath, starching sorrow into invisibility. The conference room smelled of stale muffins and corporate anxiety. My director slid a printout across the table, transcription excerpts from the smart speaker, my own voice. Like acid etching company slogans, hostile conduct, defamation, risk factors, culture, fit. I memorized the pattern on the carpet so I wouldn't cry on their shoes. They suspended me without pay, recommended counseling. The fluorescent buzz felt like Judgment Day. Suspended time stretch sticky. I binged podcasts about accountability 1. Host said growth hurts more than injury because healing forces you to touch the wound. I wrote morning pages looped with "I'm sorry" until letters blurred, like river reeds. I donated clothes boots too to women's shelter, part penance, part making space for. Air one evening, an apology shaped like bravery drove me to the Marriott. I paced the parking garage talking myself in circles. Elevator walls mirrored the sweat on my lip outside. Room 1512, my knock sounded like a pebble in a canyon. Julian opened polite reserved. He'd rearranged the hotel room into austerity suitcase corner bed, half-made window shears, parted just so, 2 identical glasses of water on the desk. He listened while I explained HR nearly fired me. He responded softly. Actions, Ripple Lexi. We don't control where the waves land. I asked for pause. His eyes drifted toward the packed suitcase. Conversation ended in silence, thick as wet cement. I drove neon highways until the gaslight glowed, parked at a 24-hour grocery, and cried into the steering wheel. A teenage cashier tapped the window. You good mom, I lied. Thumbs up. Drove home, stomach hollow microwave, kept flashing end like mock applause. Days stacked like wet cardboard, Cassidy's texts grew skeletal. Sure, okay, maybe. Hallways at work hushed when my heels clicked. I felt judgment scorch like sunburn. Bills arrived like soldier's mortgage lawyer explained community debt half mine, without his salary, impossible for me alone. For sale signs sprouted on manicured lawn. Neighbors pretended not to notice. I packed life into boxes, labels scrawled hurried bedroom books, regrets miscellaneous. The word regrets filled 4 cartons. Moving day Houston, rain warm, relentless movers. Loaded damp cardboard waffles hid under rental. Truck I remembered childhood storms, timing lightning to thunder, telling little brother. Each second equals a mile distance means safety. Now thunder landed inside me. The micro apartment smelled of fresh paint and ghost cigarettes. Windows faced an alley. Bricks sweating in July, no doors, only curtains, mattress on floor, waffles curled into knees. Rain drummed like a metronome. I stared at phone, hoping Julian would ask, "Are you safe?" The screen remained an empty lake I called Mom. She listened long distance. Static, she told me. Honey, shame is a fog drive. Slow lights on, eventually you'll see road stripes again. Her voice sounded older than I remembered, maybe because I hadn't listened in years. A week later, HR emailed mandatory mediation workshop prerequisite. For reinstatement, I accepted desperation disguised as humility. I spent evenings drafting slides titled Listening Without Weapons, using my worst lines as examples. Red strike through, do not be this person. Trainees took notes, some whispered maybe. Laughing, maybe learning seeds sprout. Unexpectedly, I started therapy, pro bono program. First session felt like picking scabs on camera. Therapist asked, when did you learn to equate love with performance memory? Flashed of dad slamming the door. Mum, holding report card. Like armor, I said middle school, maybe therapist nodded, wrote pattern in block letters. Rent 8 savings. I sold. Wedding dress on second-hand app buyer. Messaged perfect for my fall elopement. I almost advised stain guard, then realized. My role had ended. I mailed it with lavender sachet, small kindness to stranger. Every night, I rehearsed apologies that might never be spoken. Each attempt shed new layer of varnish around ego, Cassidy voicemails. Oscillated anger, compassion, until she, Texted link peer group emotional accountability. Tuesday church basement. Curiosity, wrestled, pride, curiosity. 1. I arrived early. Basement smelled of dust, hymnals, powdered creamer. 15 strangers circled folding chairs, confessing micro-betrayals. Overspending gambling gossip I spoke last. Voice shaky told toy joke, the recordings, public flogging faces winced. But no one left, a woman squeezed my elbow. Shame grows in dark, we are sunlight. I kept returning Tuesday after Tuesday. 3 weeks post. Driveway. Cassidy messaged emergency come to Krista house now, thunderheads bruised horizon. I drove soaked streets, found all 5 couples plus Cassidy. Clustered living room, projector flicker, freeze frame me at wedding toast. Krista remote clicked play. Smart speaker audio poured my private cruelty at surround sound volume dissecting Julian body mocking Dave crypto, ridiculing Heidi's fertility struggle. Even lines I'd forgotten every word an asteroid Dave threw up a hand. Cut the audio, is any of that? Untrue, I croaked. Joke, he shook head. Krista said, you turned us into props for your self-esteem. Pamela whispered, we excused it because we loved you. Julian isn't here, so hear the choir you composed. Rage flashed humiliation hotter than July asphalt. I spun at Cassidy traitor. She met my glare. Maybe now you understand intervention, not betrayal. Her calm daggered, I stormed into rain, screamed on lawn voice, shredded neighbours, porch lights blinked, tires hissed water as I sped away, tears smeared. Windshield phantom audience gaze, still burning skin. That night apartment walls throbbed. I opened laptop typed apology, post deleted typed again. Sunrise bled through blinds I recorded, video raw, face swollen, voice cracked. I confessed mocking a man who loved me, weaponizing secrets, turning friends into scenery. I pledged all ad revenue to anti-cyber abuse, hit upload. Weighted comments trickled empathy and ire. Equal strangers named me monster. Others confessed they'd been me algorithm. Nudged views into thousands, tens of thousands. I left comment section open, replied, thank you, I hear you, I'm sorry. Accountability isn't an event, it's cardio daily burn. 2 days later, Julian texts or video, believe, you mean it, belief isn't glue. Sometimes break stays. Broken lawyer will mediate amicably. I drafted paragraphs begging chance deleted sent. I want you happy, he replied. Take care, then photo. Waffles in hotel lobby, apparently weekend visit to ease. Transition dog grin. Looked sincere, strange relief, washed me. HR lifted suspension video proof of growth. They said offered me slot on culture initiative. Irony tasted metallic, but paycheck mattered. I spent late nights refining workshop, travelled to satellite offices, telling roomfuls of wary managers that humiliation doesn't motivate, that laughter leaving bruises isn't comedy. Some nodded, some scrolled phones still seeds. Local podcast invited me, the villain to redemption arc. Recorded in a garage, smell of motor oil and ambition, host grilled why weapon. Humour, I answered, because vulnerability felt like walking into grocery barefoot shards. Everywhere listeners wrote emails. One said you sound like my ex-wife. Thank you for confirming she's human. Income steadier, debt still heavy. I tutored marketing. Students online evenings, small money, big focus, answering their anxieties about first jobs. I heard echoes of my own hunger, tried offering gentleness. I'd long denied myself. Cassidy and I met for coffee. Neutral ground indie shop plants on every surface. We talked around crater then through it. She apologized for projector massacre. I acknowledged the bandage hidden inside. She said, bravery sometimes looks like betrayal. We cried snot, ugly strangers pretended not to notice. We decided friendship would restart, not resume building. New trust with scaffolding of boundaries. Months slid into spring sale of house closed equity. Split boots. Money vanished into debt repayment, but chest weight eased. Apartment began to smell like cinnamon candles. Not ghosts. Thrift store star chart hung above mattress constellation of lessons. Reminding stars die yet shine long after death distance perspective. Time all illusions yet comforting. Days before divorce finalization. Julian asked to meet dog park neutral ground. Sky pale peach, he arrived early. Waffles, bolt circles, mud splatter we talked. Weather therapy boundaries, he might relocate Seattle. Rainy sky demands less smiling. I said, Houston's sun still judges. But I'm learning to squint. We laughed soft. He returned. Spare key. I returned collectible bottle caps. We hugged long enough to honor origin, short enough to release future as separate chapters. Lawyer documents arrived, dissolution uncontested. I signed tears, dotted ink, rainfall circles, proof of weather. Endured envelope later slid under apartment door containing Lego keychain, coding joke and note. Maybe rebuild lighter. I held plastic brick inhaled scent of faint cologne, felt stitch form, where wound gaped. Not closure but clotting. I joined Tuesday Pier. Group leadership planned community workshop standing on church stage, telling story, toy joke projector, shame online, apology group applauded. Not cheers but recognition. I looked out, saw faces nodding, some tearful realized voice once weapon now, tool. Publisher message saw your video. Your workshops want book proposal about unlearning cruelty. I outlined chapters, humor, hunger, hurt, healing. Signed modest advance, used money to adopt second rescue. Dog naming her Echo reminder of things that bounce back. I rented tiny studio-built podcast closets out of quilts recorded episodes called Unsilenced Exploring Moments, when people said the worst thing, and what came after first week 100 streams. Month later 5,000 sponsors sniffed around. I declined. Ads until charity partner aligned integrity over profit lesson tattooed in brain. Cassidy invited me to her engagement Tim had proposed at sunrise. She asked, will you stand beside me? Not maid of honor, but witness of growth. I said yes, still sore, but stronger we toasted sparkling water empowerment, taste like bubbles without hangover. On a humid August afternoon, I opened social feed, saw Julian photo under Space Needle arms, around woman Mia I'd met at HR retreat caption, leveled up hearts flooded. Did not flinch. I typed congrats proud of you. He liked comment within minutes. We owed each other nothing. Yet kindness required no invoice. Therapist asked, what does forgiveness feel like? I said, like exhaling after forgetting you were holding breath. Like bare feet finding cool tile after firewalk, we smiled. A session ended earlier than usual progress, sometimes measured in minutes, returned. Payday, I bought non-designer boots. Sturdy leather built for walking. Not display, walked waffles and echo along. Bayou trail, evening cicadas, loud, humid air clung to skin street lamps. Haloed. We paused on pedestrian bridge breeze, lifted loose hair, I told the river. I used to crave applause louder than thunder. Now I crave conversations soft enough to hear water. Under pilings, I touched Lego keychain, cool plastic promise of rebuilding with pieces that snap, not slice souls, still tender, but facing forward possibilities. Humming not like a door slam, but like a hinge swinging free.